Hey, it's Jerry Norton, and one of the most important skills to learn in real estate is how to talk to sellers. The best closers in real estate have learned how to ask the right questions at the right time and with the right tonality. A closer knows how to quickly uncover motivation and doesn't waste time doing unnecessary work. Unfortunately, most new investors end up wasting a lot of time on calls that don't end up converting into deals. On this video, we're going to listen to a 6-minute recorded call by one of my fast track coaching students, Stephen Reel, who talked to a pre-foreclosure seller, and then after his call, I'm going to give him valuable feedback and suggestions for how he can improve his skills as a closer. Now, Stephen is a stud because he's like a sponge and always learning, and he's willing to put in the work, and I'm just so proud of how good he's doing building his real estate business. So here's what I want you to do. Don't just consume information, but take action. I want you to take notes as you watch this video, then leave a comment with the lessons and the key takeaways that you learned. All right, let's cut to the call.
Yeah. Hi, Steven. Sorry about that. How's it going, bud?
Good, how are you?
Doing well, thank you. All right, so I think the last time we chatted, we were just going over stuff and then you had to jump off, right?
Yeah,
Okay, perfect. So if you don't mind, if you can just kind of catch me up to speed again on the house and what's going on and what, and I don't remember for sure, but didn't you say you were in foreclosure on this one?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so if you don't mind, can you just tell me some of the details on that?
Okay. Well, I should tell you that we have a sale date already. It's like in less than 2 weeks.
Okay. What is the exact date?
The 1st.
10/1.
Yes.
Okay. And do you have the trustee information as far as who's conducting the sale or who's representing the financial institution or your lender?
We do, right? We have all the financial information, the trustees, and who's doing the sale and stuff, right?
All right, perfect.
We have the letter from the bank. We have the letter from the courts that says the sale information.
Okay. Okay, no, that's perfect. So I'm texting you my email right now. I want to make sure that you get it. Is it possible you can, because I'll need all that information. It's definitely something we can help you with. Stopped a lot of auctions. Obviously, it's pretty close to the date of where we're at. Or where it's at, but it's not too late, I don't think. Have you had any extensions or anything like that up until this point?
Yeah, we've been going through this for about 3 years.
Oh, 3 years. Oh.
Yes. And we've been through 3 different law firms. We've been, we started doing the bankruptcy, but the bankruptcy didn't work out so well because of the big, huge payment, the Chapter 13.
Right.
And so that wasn't working. They wanted like $5,000 a month, you know what I mean? And there's no way we could commit to that. Should I tell you about the property, or do you want to?
Well, kind of all of it, actually. So the more I know, the better, so I can understand your situation.
Okay.
But yeah,
Okay.
I'm going to need to know the details of the loan and who the lender is and whoever your contact is, whether that's off the letter or whatever. So just so I can do my background work on that and find out the exact details. But then also, I need to know, do you know the approximate balance of your mortgage?
Hold on a second. Okay, I put you on speakerphone.
Okay, perfect.
All right, so what did you need to know?
I need the best guess or if you know the exact amount that's owed on the mortgage.
According to our bank statement, it's $230,000.
230 even.
So it says our current balance is $224,495.57.
Perfect. 224. See, even better for you. And I'm sorry, I missed your name. What was it, ma'am?
Christy.
Christy? Okay, I'm Steven. Nice to meet you. Okay, so we got 224. And what are the arrears, or how far are you behind? What would it take to get this caught up?
$95,935.43.
Whoa, okay, so 96K basically. And that's over the 3-year period?
Yes.
Okay. And is that like forbearances and things like that over the course of that time?
It's escrow late payment because they kept up our escrow, which is our property taxes and insurance.
Who is the lender? What's the lender's name?
Premier Bank.
Premier Bank. And are they out of this is in Illinois, right? Let me look.
No, we're in Ohio.
Ohio, that's right. Sorry. And is Premier in Ohio, or are they just a transient lender type person?
I think they are more of a regional bank.
Okay. All right. Perfect. I'm not in that area, so I don't know for sure. But okay, perfect. And so I have a scheduled call in 8 minutes. So over about the next 5 minutes, if we could just kind of go over the condition of the house. One thing I always really like to ask, especially with people in your situation, is if worst case scenario, the thing is we help you just sell the house to avoid the thing, capture any equity you might have or whatever. Do you guys have some place to go in 2 weeks? What are your guys' plans?
Well, guess that comes down to whether or not we can keep it or not, or if we're letting go of the whole property. I mean, I'm sure we could find someplace to stay locally for a little while.
Okay. I always like to ask that because some people just don't think about it. And I'm not saying, and it's Christy, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm not saying, Christy, that that's the scenario. Like, our objective obviously is to help you stay in your house and get it caught up or whatever. But that just kind of comes farther down in the questioning. But one of the things I like to ask people, because they just don't think about it, is what happens if this has to be sold in 2 weeks, however that goes, whether auction or you're able to sell it and at least get out of it and not have it as a bad remark to prevent you from getting a future house, however that might look. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So just something to think about in the back of your mind. But so timeline, obviously ASAP. So tell me a little bit about the condition, if you could.
Well, we have 3 houses on the property.
Oh, okay. So actually, this is really in depth. Okay, so can I call you back around 7-ish? Because I really want to be able to give you the attention that you deserve on this. And I want to kind of thoroughly go over that. And I don't have time to do that in the next 4 minutes before my scheduled call. So will you guys be available
that's fine.
in about 45 minutes-ish?
Yeah, we'll be here.
All right, perfect. I'll call you back. Thank you so much, Christy.
Okay, good. Let's talk about this. So, Stephen, first of all, you are really, really good on the phones. You're really comfortable. You come across really likable. You're very clear. You're very articulate. I think you probably don't have any issue with people making a connection, building rapport, helping them feel comfortable. So you don't have any head games going on, which is a huge leg up because a lot of people do in the beginning, where you're just so uncomfortable that it comes through quite a bit in your tonality and things. And you don't have any of that. You're very, very comfortable. Who struggles with that? Anybody else on the line that's like, man, I sound timid. I sound scared. I sound too quiet, or I sound like I don't know what I'm going to ask next. Yeah. I see some hand raises.
Right.
So that's really good because honestly, once you're able to be comfortable, I mean, that's like half the battle or more to doing good on the phones, right? Because at the end of the day, there's lots of different ways you could go about things. There's different questions you could do. There's different positionings you can do. But I think, Stephen, you just get to the bottom of it all eventually. There's not a whole lot you can really do to mess this up. But I just made some notes and went through some things that might be just some little tips or some little ideas that maybe would be helpful. But one of the things when you get on one of these calls is one of the concerns I have always is am I talking to the right person? And when I say, am I talking to the right person? What I don't want to do is have this in-depth conversation with the boyfriend and he's not even the seller, and the seller has a whole different objective, or they're not even interested in selling or whatever. And I've done that lots of times where I'm talking to the wrong person, or there's another person there that is really vital to this conversation that should be there and isn't there. Nice to meet you, so-and-so. Are you the owner of this property that we're talking about here? And what I typically do is I'll act kind of confused. And this is a really good disruptor, is I'll say, hey, what's his name? Do you remember his name?
Andy.
I'll say, hey, Andy, I'm just looking here. I got this form here that you filled out on the internet. Are you looking to sell this property at 123 Main Street? Is that right? Why are you coming across that way? It's one of the ways of tonality and asking questions that is a pattern disruptor. If you come across like you know exactly why you're there and what you're doing, then it allows them to kind of keep a guard up. So when you sound a little confused, it instantly lets the guard down because it throws them off a little bit. They're sort of like, they kind of don't know how to respond exactly. I used to do this one thing where I would have a piece of paper in my hand and I would call and I'd say, yeah, and I'd ruffle it. I think I'm looking for a Christie, and I'm just looking at some tax records here. Are you the owner of 123 Main Street? And they hear some ruffling and they hear tax records and they're like, wait, what? What tax record? What? And now that would be cold calling, not PPC, because that you're dealing with an inbound lead. But an outbound lead, when you're calling someone and they answer the phone and you're ruffling a paper and you say, I'm looking at some tax documents, and you're confused, instantly they're like, whoa, what's going on here? Is this a bill collector? Did I forget to pay my tax? Like, what's going on here? So with this one, it's like you're talking to Andy. So Andy, are you the owner of this property here? Okay, you're not. You're the boyfriend. Okay, great. Is Christy there with you by chance? I'd love to talk to both of you. That way you're not, discarding him, because clearly he's a decision maker in this thing. And then you get her on the phone. And then instantly, one of the things I like to do is right out of the gate, I'll say, are you looking to sell this property at 123 Main Street? Now, they are, because they filled out a form, or they should. But again, it's asking them a question. They're going to come back and they're going to say, yeah, we're looking to sell this property. Okay. How much do you want for this property? And I'll ask that question. It's the weirdest thing. I'll ask that question in the first 30 to 90 seconds. I don't even know anything about what's going on. And I'll ask that question. Are you looking to sell this property? And then I'll say, how much are you looking to get for it? Now, I haven't built any rapport. I don't know what's going on. I don't know anything. But what I'm doing is I'm instantly taking control of this conversation. I'm asking the question, and you did that, by the way. You did great. You were leading this conversation. You were in total control. Sometimes when they're leading the conversation, we lose all position, all power, all control, because they're asking the questions and you're sort of in a defensive role instead of an offensive role. Okay. So not that you did that. I'm just sharing some other ideas. I'll say, and what are you looking to get for the property? And they'll say, whatever, 230 or 250 or whatever. And then you're like, okay, in your head now, you've got them to give you their number. Now, you could care less what that number is, but it lets you know where their head's at. And it lets you know, okay, are they coming at me with a retail number, or are they already coming at me with a discounted number? Now, at this point, once they give me the number, I'm on my quick analyzer, not my ARV comping, but I'm just looking at the Zillow Redfin Realtor number. And I'm looking at, okay, I know I'm going to be somewhere at half of their number, of that number, 40 to 50% of the Zillow number. Is the number they're giving me anywhere near that? If it is, then I instantly have overcome the price objection, where I know they're already coming at a low number. I know there's probably room in here. Of course, I'm going to try to get it lower if I can. But are they coming at me with the retail number, or are they coming at me with a discounted number? And I've got them to name their number first. So I'm already heading in the direction I want to go in, because I don't ever want to make an offer until they've given me their number first. Now, you did come about the number in a backhanded way by getting them to tell you what's owed on their loan. Because now you know what's owed on their loan, and you got them to give you the arrears, because you're dealing with pre-foreclosure. And I could see you doing the math in your head. You're trying to get to the number of like, okay, well, if I have to pay the arrears and either take over a loan or pay off a loan, where am I at now in what, just to get out of this deal, let alone give them any money? But what's that number look like? So I like that. That's a great way to get to it. Another way that, though, I would position that with them, because they must have put information in the form about pre-foreclosure, because you were asking questions about it. So you already knew about that.
Yep, they did.
You didn't have, okay. So you didn't have to uncover, hey, this is foreclosure. You said right away, hey, so you have a foreclosure. When is that happening? That was great. So what I do when I find out someone's like 2 weeks away from foreclosure is, this is a really powerful question. I would say, help me understand what's going on. At this point, with the auction 2 weeks away, what is it that you're hoping to accomplish? Now, I like that question, because I'm giving them an opportunity to say to me, honestly, we're hoping that you can give us the money and we stay in the property, or we're hoping that you know some magic formula to postpone this. We've been able to successfully kick the can down the road for 3 years. Maybe you can help us get 4 years without paying. Like, think about this, guys.
Exactly what they were looking for.
Yeah.
Too. Like, this is
right?
a wild story when you really get into it.
When you ask them, hey, what are your plans in 2 weeks if this is sold to auction to an investor? That's an awesome question. And what you're doing is you're trying to uncover where are these guys at? What are they thinking?
Right.
So that's one way to do it is, hey, what are you guys doing in 2 weeks? Another way would be, help me understand, what is it you're hoping to accomplish with your auction 2 weeks away? Are you looking to prevent a foreclosure and just get out of it? Are you looking to someone to come in and buy it and rent it back to you and stay? Are you looking to get everything paid off and put some money in your pocket? I don't give them these ideas. I let them kind of respond back and tell me where their head's at. You're just gathering information, trying to get your head around it. One thing I would avoid is I would not go into condition.
On just the pre-foreclosure or on anything really?
I avoid the conversation around condition until I know we're talking about a number that's even in the ballpark of me doing something. What we often do is we're sort of like, I don't really know what to do next here with this situation. But I do know that if I talk about condition, I can buy time. And so I see a lot of people dive into condition. And honestly, at this point, most of the time, the condition's the last of our concerns. What's really my concern is, are we even talking about half of the Zillow value? Because if we're not even at half of Zillow, that tells me that we're not talking about a cash offer here. Right now, we're talking about, I got to come up with $93,000 to stop this foreclosure, because you have to pay the arrears current if you're going to try to postpone this. So probably what you're thinking about here now is shifting gears. This is like happening at rapid speed while you're on the phone is, okay, I would have to come up with $100,000 and probably take over that loan, get it caught up and take over that loan. It's probably not going to make sense to come up with that $100,000 plus whatever's owed on that loan. Because now we're talking about, well, what would that be? 350. I think she said 230, 229 owed plus another 96 in arrears.
Yeah,
So
so
you're
it's
looking
like 322 altogether. Is
322. So what I would be doing is I'd add those two together. I'd look at the Zillow. What's the Zillow on that thing? If that thing's anywhere near
It was
322.
weird because it was never on the market. So it was one of those where all the APNs are lumped together. Like you really couldn't find a Zillow listing of it. So
Okay.
it was hard. It was a really weird property.
Yeah. So then one thing I would probably need to do would be, okay, now there's multiple properties on here. Help me understand what's going on here. Are these deeded separately? Are they all combined on one lot? But I'm trying to find out what the situation is on houses to find value, not to find condition. Condition is the last thing you need to worry about. Why is condition the last thing you need to worry about? Because condition is something that we can easily uncover in our due diligence, in our inspection contingency, once we have a number. Because what I'm automatically going to do is I'm automatically going to assume it needs work. I can already say to myself, okay, well, if I'm at half a value, there's probably work that needs done. Let's throw a number at it. Maybe it's higher, maybe it's lower. But at this point, am I ballparking somewhere where this is worth having a conversation about? Or are we just so far out in left field that it doesn't matter if the roof is new or if the furnace has been replaced or what the condition of the kitchen is? None of that even really matters because we're not even anywhere near getting down to those details. We don't even have an idea around value. The way I like to look at it is get your head around value first. And if that makes sense, now go to condition. But if value doesn't make sense, condition is not even worth talking about.
Right. It's just a
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense when you explain it that way. It's the extra 5, 10, 15 minutes that you learn about that stuff and then it's wasted.
Everything is timing. So it's never wrong to talk about condition. It's only wrong to talk about condition if we don't first have our head around value. Right. Then it's premature. It's sort of too early. Just like we don't comp a property unless we're in the ballpark. So like with agents, let's say I throw a number out there and the agent says, yeah, they won't take that offer, but they countered at this number. And I'm like, oh, that number is like within 20,000 of where I want to be. Now I'll spend a half an hour and comp it so I can get my number tighter. But when I know that my initial offer, my ballpark number is 150,000 lower than the list price, it's a waste of time to comp because I don't need that kind of detail yet. I just need to throw a low offer and see what they do. Once they respond favorably, then we go to the next step. I don't need to go see the property. Like during this challenge I'm doing right now, I know some of you guys participated in that. I saw a bunch of people saying, hey, I'm scheduled to meet an agent out at a property tomorrow to look at it. And in my mind, instantly, I'm like, waste of time.
Right.
Why would you get in your car, drive, go look at a property if you know that your ballpark number is $100,000 lower than list price? You're wasting your time. You're
Right.
wasting your time in going to see the property if the purpose of seeing the property is to establish condition, because we don't care about that yet.
Right.
If you're going to meet the agent and it's worth the conversation and the connection, okay, maybe you can justify that's worth it. But if you're going there because you're like, I want to get my head around the property and the condition of the property so that I can run better numbers, but your better number would be like, okay, I'm going to fine tune it between 140 and 130, but they're listed at 250, waste of time. You're not even close to where you could put a deal together. So one of the greatest things you can learn in this business is, how do I not overspend the time? How do I not talk about things, do things that are one step too early? How do I only do what's necessary right now? And once I get that step done or that information gathered, the next step. And so, like, for example, Stephen, going back to like, do you want to sell and what's your price? The reason why I like to ask that right out of the gate is I've been 10 minutes into a call, 15 minutes into a call, and they don't even want to sell. Or I'm talking to the wrong person that's not even the seller, and they just want a friend. People fill out PPC forms because they're lonely. Honestly, it's the weirdest thing.
Chatters. Like sometimes I have calls like that where they want to sell, but it's like a completely unrealistic thing, and they just want to chat and tell me about their wife that passed away or whatever else. Like, it's crazy.
Another question I would ask when they said, we've been doing this for 3 years. So this is a really cool question. This is a great question. When you know that you're not the first person they're talking to or have talked to, so I would say, I'm sure you've talked to other investors. I'm just curious, why haven't you sold this property already? Think about that question. You're making an assumption. Hey, I'm sure you've talked to other investors. I'm sure I'm not the first investor you've talked to. Help me understand, why haven't you already sold this property? Now, and then be quiet. Now, what does that question do? It's going to put them on the spot, and they're going to start telling you, well, we've had other investors tell us that they can't pay this much. We've been under contract 3 times, and then they come out and they can't do it. Or actually, now that you mention it, we have 4 other offers right now. We're just seeing if you'll offer more. That question uncovers a lot.
That's funny. I think in the 4th call on this one, I actually got to that, and this lady sent me someone else's contract.
Yeah.
And let me go through it. I was like, awesome.
Here's the thing. Most PPC leads, what they do is when they're desperate like this, and this is high intent, high motivation, foreclosures 2 weeks away. In fact, you're lucky you've got 2 weeks. Normally it's 3 days. Like they're calling you on Tuesday and the foreclosure's on Friday. Like that's how it usually goes. And that for 3 years, they put their head in the sand, and now they're filling out PPC forms 3 days before it's the craziest thing. I call it the ostrich effect. They put their head in the sand. They think somehow it's going to solve its own problem. Meanwhile, it's accruing. The arrears are now $96,000.
Right. Right.
Well, yeah, 3 years of living for free.
Mortgage. The next call, they were making like $4,500 a month off of this property. There's the main house they live in, a duplex that they did an STR in one side and a long-term in the other, getting $3,500 off of the STR, $700 off the long-term. And then in the other house, she did daycare for her family. So like and the dude worked full time. They were just milking the system 100%.
Oh, yeah. And they BK'd to postpone it. They did some bankruptcy stuff because bankruptcy stopped the foreclosures.
And that really made the lender mad. So not only on this one is there a trustee involved, but the bank is not only foreclosing, they're suing as well. Like this has ended up being a big thing.
Yeah, these are a mess when people are milking the system, working the system, collecting, renting the properties, taking in money. And meanwhile, the whole time, everybody else is the bad guy, right? The bank screwed me. What are you talking about? You haven't made your payment in 3 years. How do you think this works? You know, like you live for free. It's very hard to, first of all, work with that type of person because they're looking to take advantage of everybody and anybody, including you. These are people that want something for nothing. She even said it. She's like, what do you mean move? We've been able to game the system for 3 years, and we're hoping to continue gaming it with you. We're hoping that we don't have to move. We're not prepared to move. We're thinking that you're an investor. You're going to come in here and figure this all out. I'll stop paying you too. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going to pay rent. I'm not going to, I just want to keep living for free. It's worked so far. Why can't we keep doing it? So instantly, like you want to check the boxes off as you go and then stop where you need to stop or keep going when it's time to keep going. This very well could have like a ton of equity and be a great deal. And you go get PML, you pay the arrears, all the things. But one thing's for certain, I would not be doing any type of rent back agreement or keep them in there or any of that type of stuff. I would be changing my conversation saying, look, here's the thing. I may be able to help you with this, but my investors, they're going to want the property vacated by the time we work something out. And if that's not really an option for you, totally get it. But I just want to make this clear to you. We won't be able to come in and do anything unless the property is vacant and clear. Is that something that you're capable of doing? Because whatever agreement they make with you, trust me, they're going to violate that too.
Right. Getting that out of the way within in the first 5, 7, 10 minutes even.
Yeah. So like, I'll just review some of the questions. Are you the seller? Are you looking to sell this property? Help me understand what's going on here. What are you hoping to accomplish between now and foreclosure? I would even say something like, are you aware of what happens if we don't work out something, or if you don't work out something between now and October 1? Are you aware of what happens? It sells, somebody else owns your property, and the sheriff will come and throw you to the curb. Like, say that in a nice way, but like they need to understand. So what I typically do, if you listen to any of my pre-foreclosure calls where I talk to them at this stage, like the 11th hour, I put on a much different hat than I do with almost everybody else. And now I've got the right to be very bold and very direct.
Right.
And the reason why you have the right to do that is because, for one, there is no follow-up sequence here. There's no like, hey, let's keep working with these guys until they're ready. It's, we get a deal done now or we don't at all, because they're putting you in a precarious situation. You have to jump up and down now. You got to try to stop a foreclosure. You got to do all this stuff because they waited to the last minute. So I'll tell them, I'll say, listen, I don't even know if it's possible to stop this foreclosure. We don't have very much time. You're calling me with no time left to get something done. Now, we might be able to do it, but it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of effort. And I'm going to need you to cooperate with me. And this is how direct I am. I'm going to need you to cooperate with me. I'm going to need you to get me information. We're going to need to make decisions fast. And there's only one way that's preventing you from having a foreclosure on your record. And once that foreclosure is on your record, not only do you have bankruptcy, but now you have foreclosure on there too. That's probably going to mean your credit is trashed for years to come.
Right.
Now, I might be able to do one thing for you. I might be able to stop a foreclosure on your record, but it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to put any cash in your pocket, because I got to raise a lot of money here with my investors to pay these arrears and pay off your loan, if that's the way we go. And I don't know if I can do any of this. I'm just letting you know the process right now, and see how direct I'm being. And this is in the first 5 minutes.
And you're also leaving doubt and question there as well. Like, I don't know. Yeah, you're definitely leaving that in their minds. So
I don't even know if I can do any of this. I'm just letting you know what the process is going to look like, if I can even help you. And then I'm still compassionate about it. So I'll say to them, I'll say, look, between you and me, I have very little compassion for what they've done. Now that you tell me they're renting the properties and all this stuff, like, come on, they can afford to make their $230,000 payment. What are you guys doing? But most of the time, it's a much more difficult situation. It's a lost job. It's, all the hard things. So I'll say, man, I got to tell you, I'm so sorry you're in this situation. I feel so bad for you to be in this situation. This must be really hard. I can't imagine what you're going through. Empathy is powerful, right? And I'll say, but listen, you have to now step up and deal with this. You cannot let this go any longer. You have to deal with this. And I might be able to help you, and I'm willing to help you, but I'm going to need you to now step up and deal with this. And I'll be that direct. I'm trying to get the ostrich effect done. Like, pull your freaking head out of the sand, be a big boy or a big girl, and deal with this problem now. Or don't do anything. But if you don't do anything, then this is going to auction, and two things are going to happen at the auction. An investor is going to be there, and they're going to buy it and be the new owner. Or if nobody bids at the auction, then it goes back to the bank. Either way, you're out of rope. You're out of runway. And what happens next is the sheriff comes and he throws your stuff to the curb. That's the next thing that happens.
Right. And
you're out of options. You've got a date.
And you haven't even thought about where you're going to go
Yeah.
then.
So I would do one of two things: step up and deal with this, and I'll try to help you, or start packing your stuff, or don't do anything and wait till everything just happens to you. Those are your three options. Do nothing, step up and face it, and maybe we can help you and prevent a foreclosure, or start packing your bags and just turn your head on the whole thing and leave. Like, those are your options. Let them do what they're going to do.
Right.
What do you want to do? And I'll say to them, I'll say, what do you want to do? Which one do you want to do?
Probably wasted, I don't know, at least an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah.
On one.
All these calls. Yeah.
All these calls. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll bet you would spend a half an hour on condition, getting your
Yeah.
head around that.
It's
Yeah.
like a 26-minute video.
Yeah. If you want to save a ton of time and be way more efficient on phones, don't even talk about condition. Because
Right.
here's the thing: whatever they tell you, you're going to have to go verify it anyway. Now, this is very hard for us because we're trained to think, man, I got to know what the repairs are because I got to come up with a repair number because I got to do that in my formula to make sure my buy price is good. No, you don't. If your offer price is 40, 50% of Zillow, ballpark, generally speaking, that's going to give you a good wholesale number. Let's say we do all of that and we don't talk about condition. And I'll say, okay, right now we're going to be sending over an agreement. Are you in front of your email? Great, pull that up. Now, here's the thing. Once we get this agreement in place and you approve this agreement, here's what's going to happen next. We have a little window of time for us to come out to the property and just verify everything's what we talked about. Just make sure that we have our head around like what needs done to the property. And it'll take us 5 minutes. We're just going to do a quick walkthrough. And really, we're looking for big ticket items like foundation or roof, that sort of thing. And so what I just said to them was, we're going to come see the condition. And then if we go out to the condition and it's a fire damage, burnt down thing, that's when we now have an opportunity to say, hey, my 40% of Zillow number, my 50% of Zillow number, whatever it is, even that doesn't cover all the repairs needed. So now I can adjust, I can renegotiate. But seriously, 9 out of 10 times, if you're following that simple formula of a percentage off of the as-is value, 9 out of 10 times, that's a good wholesale number in almost any type of condition or most conditions of homes. Okay. If you use my quick analysis calculator, my as-is calculator, we take the Zillow number, the Redfin number, and the Realtor.com number. Now, Realtor.com, they use, in most markets, they use 3 different data sources, and they give you all 3. Take that average number, plug it into that calculator. It's going to average all of those, Zillow, Realtor.com, and Redfin. Now you have an average as-is value. And then the calculator takes a percentage off of that. That's your exit number that your buyer will pay. Then you back out your wholesale fee, and that's your offer price. Now that number, it's a ballpark. We haven't done comps. We haven't estimated repairs. We haven't done any of that. All that's doing is it's giving me a rapid fire offer number. It's giving me a number that I know if I'm somewhere around this number, I probably got a deal. So then we make that offer somewhere around that number. We anchor there or even under it a little. And all that we've done is step 1. Step 1 is I have to very quickly, without using any brain cells, come up with a number. Because if I have to use brain cells, then I'm going to be too tired at the end of the day for anybody else or my family, right? I can't do this all day long and use brain cells. I got to dumb this down as much as I can. That way I can just have conversations with people, put numbers in front of them. And all I'm looking for is high motivation. If they're highly motivated, now I'll use my brain cells and comp and all that. But I don't want to use up brain cells that I don't need to use up because it's like a limited resource. You only have so much brain cells in one day. Seriously, once you spend all that, you're just a zombie. So that's why we use that quick calculator. Don't get hung up on, is this a good number? Is it exactly where I need to be? Who cares? Step 1 is ballpark a low number, anchor low, see how they respond. If they respond, then we know where they're motivated. Now we work through it with them, okay? So that's why we use that calculator.